Hello and welcome to my Creative Person in Business presentation. My presentation is on Chris Mercado. To give you an outline on the presentation, we're going to go over an introduction, biography, problem identification, solution, results, and conclusion. I wanted to create a disclaimer at the beginning of this conversation here. This conversation does center on some very difficult subjects regarding suicide, mental health, depression, and veteran depression and suicide. I encourage anyone who may be struggling or knows someone who is struggling with suicidal thoughts, depression, to reach out to the numbers provided here. This is an introduction to Chris Mercado and Operation Zero, a cell phone application which is used to reach out to those suffering, veterans suffering from mental health. I decided to make my presentation on Chris Mercado because I have a very personal interest in this issue and possible solutions to this issue. My brother is a service member who was deployed and suffers from PTSD and depression on a daily basis. So I was really interested in learning how Chris used creativity to address a really serious problem and the tools that might be out there. So a little quote from Chris. 20 veterans die by suicide every day, a rate 2.1 higher than the non-veteran population. Objective Zero aims to bring this number to zero through an application that provides veterans with on-demand mental health support. So really, that quote right there encompasses this entire presentation, the reasons why this application was created and what it aims to do. To get a little background on Chris, he has a Bachelor's of Arts from the University of South Dakota, Master's of Arts from Georgetown University with a major in terrorism. He has received multiple awards and recognition, including being named 2017 Soldier of the Year Award. And I wanted to give really a timeline of Chris's service history because that really is what is impacting the creation of this application. In 1997, he joined the National Guard, re-enlisted for active duty in 2001 after the 9/11 terrorism attacks, which I thought was really inspirational. He took a really tragic and profound event in our history and used it to want to defend our country. So really stand as a representation of his character, really. Was deployed to Iraq multiple times. On his second deployment is really when he experienced soldier suicide for the first time. A member of his platoon committed suicide, and that was really had a profound impact on his introduction to mental health in service members. And 2014 was really the event that kickstarted the Operation Zero was the Justin Miller conversation, and I call it the Justin Miller conversation, but really it was the conversation that saved Justin Miller's life. So Justin Miller and Mercado talked for 6 hours really during a really dark time in Justin's life, and this conversation and really began the Operation Zero and really showed Mercado that there was a need out there for a sort of immediate response when veterans and service members were struggling with suicidal and depression thoughts. So 2014 was really the year of Operation Zero. Operation Zero launched in 2017, the application, the phone application. So it hasn't been around for very long, but it's already really making an impact on helping veterans, which you'll see later on. The problem was identified really, veterans' health has always been an issue in our country, yet mental health has really been a struggle to address. In 2014, veterans accounted for 18% of all deaths from suicides among adults, but they make up only 8.5% of the U.S. population. So that's a significant number, and to think that somebody survived war, risked their lives for our country, and yet are coming home and struggling on a daily basis and actually are dying at home is a really concerning event and something that needs to be addressed beyond simply just this application, but when we talk into in policy and in the political realm, is really an area that needs to be addressed and concentrated on. We lose 20 veterans a day. That's 600 lives lost a month. That's 7,300 a year. Really, one is too many, but to think 20 veterans a day are dying from something that, from lack of support, from mental health, from depression, is a very significant number and a very troubling number. So this is something that drove Chris to attempt to find a solution, or at least a support system for these veterans and service members struggling. The solution was an Operation Zero phone application. It seems we have a phone application for really everything, but I can't think of a phone application that's more needed and has a greater use than this one. It is really an on-demand mental health support system for veterans struggling, and it allows veterans to reach out to ambassadors who are trained by Operation Zero to provide mental health support and really just be a person that that veteran and service member can lean on in that time of need. The application provides text messaging, phone calls, videos, video chat. So really it's a unique application. It's not just a phone number that they can call, but it allows veterans who may not be comfortable talking to text, or veterans who want that face-to-face connection to reach out to somebody. And veterans can actually filter ambassadors based on their service history, gender, so they can really find somebody that they feel comfortable talking to, including somebody who may have experienced an issue or an event similar to themselves, so they can really reach out and find somebody that may know what they're going through. Really, this application is not only just a one-time, in your darkest need kind of application. It's also an application that provides reading materials, blogs, articles, and podcasts for daily use, for mental health daily use support. So somebody who can't afford to go to a counselor on a day-to-day basis, or somebody who can't get to the Department of the VA for their counseling sessions, or perhaps a lot of veterans and service members really have a lack of trust in their local VA. So this really creates an in your pocket kind of reference and tool, and really any tool is important when it comes to creating a support system for veterans and service members who are struggling. So this is really a creative solution to a really serious problem, and the fact that it's a free use to service members is something that is just amazing to me, and it really shows you where the heart of this business lies, and that's helping veterans and service members. Here's a little bit about the management team. I think it's really amazing that Chris and Justin are the co-founders of this operation. A 6-hour chat where Justin was in the darkest moment in his life has really created an opportunity for bettering himself and for bettering others' lives. I wanted to point out the advisory board there. I think it's really amazing that Operation Zero is able to identify their weaknesses and reach out to those that may be more experienced in certain areas to create an application that is really all-encompassing and really provides the right kind of support that's needed. The results here are 6,000 text messages sent, 3,000 plus service members connected to mental health services, and 800 plus hours of voice and video connection, supported by over 750 peer support ambassadors trained. And I think that 3,000 number is really important there, because that's 3,000 lives potentially saved from this application. Honestly, one life, even one service member connected, would be worth this application, but 3,000 is a really staggering number considering it's only launched since 2017. To conclude, creativity can be used to save lives. I think it's really important that Chris understood his weaknesses perhaps as an individual and reached out to others to create this application. He used others that are perhaps more experienced in certain areas, including clinical and psychological support systems. He reached out to those who actually physically created the application to create this application. So really he understood his weaknesses as an individual and utilized those around him to create this really amazing application. And I think really even if one life had been saved by this application, I would consider it a major success. And I think that's a conclusion we could draw from this, is this is an application that saves lives. This is not just a Snapchat chat. This is not just Twitter. This is really something that's geared towards saving people's lives and creating that support system. Here are some of the references I used. I used a lot of the statistical references here from the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I wanted to thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it a little longer than I had hoped, but I think it's a very important subject and something that's worth the time to take and really learn about the tools and resources out there. Again, I encourage anyone who is struggling to reach out to the numbers at the beginning of the presentation, and I encourage anyone who has any interest in being a peer ambassador to reach out to the Operation Zero's website and research how they can be trained to be a peer ambassador. Both not service members and non-service members are able to be peer ambassadors. So it's if you're interested in that, it's definitely something that is life-changing. Thank you again for listening to my presentation.